Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Make Believe, where we're playing World in Economica. So, last time we made it to the house and we talked to Lisa, the house that's actually a church, or at least the front's a church. And we talked to Lisa and how she's actually religious but not a fanatic. And I believe she also talked about her family and stuff. And yeah, that's basically all I remember from last time. So, let's continue. I heard a door open the other side of the hall, leading to the living room, and footsteps afterwards, as if someone was waiting just for the moment when Lisa was about to get up from the sofa. Supposedly, there were only Lisa and Hagana here, so logically, it must have been Hagana. Yeah, I was also thinking that, like, that was Hagana. So there was no reason to be surprised, but I did get a shock when I spotted Hagana come in from the dark hallway. Oh, I saw Hagana before in dark clothes, so this is an unexpected sight. Yeah. Hey, Hagana! Lisa got up hurriedly from the sofa. The Hagana in question squinted her eyes, wearing a surprised, puzzled expression. In her hands were neatly folded pajamas and what looked like a change of underwear. But what got us all in fluster was her appearance. She was wearing short shorts that revealed her slender long legs all the way up to her hips, and a sleeveless shirt through which you could almost see her chest. I guess she isn't completely flat, huh? Haven't I told you many times never to wander around in something like that? What is up with the soundtrack though? I'm just noticing now. Isn't it fine since it's not showing? She replied, surprised at how angry Lisa was, and went quickly into the changing room. It looked like Lisa couldn't figure out what to say and simply growled in front of the changing room door. Yeah, like Hagana's kind of how can I say, close to, yeah, I guess close to emotionless, so embarrassed is also not an emotion she thinks much about. As for me, to my great distress, I averted my eyes and thought, her panties are white? That was oddly childlike compared to the color of her clothing and her ridiculous cheekness. Well, it wasn't bad, but seeing that kind of underwear beneath her totally black stockings would kind of be a letdown, I thought to myself. I then noticed Lisa glaring at me. I didn't think that being a letdown, just a surprise. Like, it's different from what I expected from her. Erase that from your memory. I couldn't just brush it off by laughing at her ridiculously serious face because of her scary glare. I nodded twice obediently. Yep, sure. Whatever you say. Yeesh. Because she's so hard-headed. Lisa sighed and shook her head. Even though it looked like she had all the power here, she had no way of controlling Hagana's thoughts. And I can't help but smile because of the soundtrack. Like, the soundtrack's still going. Like, it's just a cheery sound. It really did seem like Lisa's hobby was to shelter runaways. That was fine, but I felt inclined to show her respect for her words. It was a strange thing. Respect? What is this, Yoshiharu? The feeling you never felt before. You tried to show at least a little shame too, okay? It was the first time I ever heard that in my life, but I nodded. I possessed manners that would lead people to think I seriously wanted to distance myself from the crude culture of my home village, where people who couldn't get naked in front of where people couldn't get naked in front of people of the same gender were considered cowardly. So you possess men that would lead people to think you seriously want to distance yourself. What? No. Would lead people to think that? Nah. I don't know where you got that idea from. However, Lisa waited for my nod and added an additional line. I'm looking forward to your manners next time we... Hal? Wait, who's Hal? We have Lisa, Hagana, Yoshiharu. Who's Hal? What a cheap move, I mentally yelled at Lisa. Wait. Am I is Yoshiharu Hal? I don't recall. Did she nickname him Hal? Wow, I do not remember, but it seems to fit. I guess Dan this lady was the type to take you by surprise if you let your guard down. Lisa was laughing merrily as she returned to the sofa and started playing with her multifunctional terminal. I had already taken a bath, but I wasn't quite sleepy yet. So I sat on the floor at once and opened my PC. Oh yeah, what about your charger? Supposedly it is with her, right? A bit afterwards, there was a quarrel between Hagana and Lisa. Hagana figured that since we were facing the other way, engrossed in what we were doing, she could just walk back to her room with only a towel on her shoulder, whereas Lisa tried to push her back to the changing room. Lisa was frantic, saying that this had been a place of better manners before, but I thought perhaps it was a warmer place before, because just two females living together. I felt that I had come across a great place. Did not expect this from Yoshiharu, not gonna lie. Even though we had separate rooms, they were well clean. If helping people out like that was a hobby, then this unhealthy interest in this church thing and this crucified man was probably also not that bad. Oh, look at that. He is having a positive view of things here. Morning. The first thing I did was confirm that I could survive another day. I figured I'd inspect my things and decided to look for the bag I was clutching before. But when I realized it was gone, a shiver went down my spine. I clenched my feet, but then when I realized I was in bed, I suddenly remembered what happened last night. Was it just not the bag beside you? It was like further away in the room or something? Or is the bag not in your room at all? This wasn't a booth in a Dodge internet cafe, but a house connected to a church, managed by a strange woman named Lisa. It had been a long time since I'd been able to sleep in a place where I could stretch out my limbs. It wasn't so bad to wake up without being in pain. And now I'm just thinking like how I stopped the last video just before that scene. Great timing, me. Oh yeah, I did not show the room without the text. Hope nobody minds that. And this is the kitchen. Oof, like, oh, I guess this is the dining table door at, yeah, last night. There's a sofa. Okay. Good morning. You're up early. Still in the worn out clothing I'd borrowed last night, I walked into the living room where Lisa was sitting in a corner with a computer. So yeah, we saw Hagana with different clothes technically, so I was wondering if the other characters are gonna have different clothes at some point, or if like Lisa's always gonna be in this outfit. Look at the book-like organic display. It didn't look like she was messing around. Except for Sundays, I usually get up around now. But yeah, I guess Yoshiharu is Hal. I guess yeah, I think she did nickname him that from Haru. You're pretty disciplined for a runaway. I'm impressed. It's none of your business. And we're back to the old Yoshiharu, huh? Lisa shrugged her shoulders, turned back to the display, and hit a number of keys before standing up from her chair. Do you want breakfast? Judging from your name, your parents must be Japanese. Oh yeah, you already told me that. I wonder if I have any rice. And oh yeah, since we're on the moon, it's not like, oh, everyone's Japanese or something like that. Yeah, I did not even think about that. Oh, makes sense. Which, yeah, Lisa is not a Japanese name, but I digress. Even with that said, I didn't really have any appetite. That's alright. I got a chocolate bar in my bag. I want some coffee. And the chocolate bar did not melt yet, right? I doubt that. When I said that, Lisa looked surprised. Her beautiful almond-shaped eyes widened and seemed frozen in place. Oh, wow. You're complimenting her eyes, even though you're not saying it out loud. As long as my eyes have the black in them, I will always try to have 3 real meals a day. Your eyes aren't even black. I mean, the pupil is. Figure of speech. I looked away in disdain like a spoiled brat. Yeah, just like a spoiled brat. It's not like you are one, somewhat. Well, I guess technically not, because the only one to really spoil you is yourself. Yeah, I guess technically he isn't, huh? Then Lisa prepared some bread, bacon, and eggs. A long time ago, the folks on Earth couldn't have imagined joining beyond their planet and still being able to eat the same thing there that they did at home. In other words, they imagined food to be some strange, colored supplement in a tube with who knows what kind of vaguely food-like nutrients in it. Sure, you could find stuff like that, but immigrants were surprised to find out that things on the moon's surface seemed really no different from Earth. I didn't think too much about it. Yeah, because you're carrying the food from Earth to there, or at least the culture of the food. So yeah, the food's not gonna be that much different. It's not like there's already different plants and animals in the moon. Do you have net connection here? To me, a net connection was more important even than a silicon dioxide factory producing fresh oxygen. Okay, until you reach the producing fresh oxygen, I was like, yeah, net connect's more important than a silicon dioxide factory. Sure. I think a lot of people can agree to that. But then producing fresh oxygen. Oh, so basically you're saying that the net connection is more important than air for you. Theoretically, no matter where you were in this lunar study, you should be within range of a wireless signal. Or so the plan was originally. For areas where the cost-benefit performance and maintenance was high, if the relay station broke, things would just stay that way. Besides, if you looked around, you could find public institutions with terminals free to use, some place with no wireless reception carved out there like Swiss cheese. If I couldn't use it out here, I would have to find a place like the Big Bow Cafe again. However, I was hopeful because the computer Lisa was using was connected to the endless sea that was the net. What? Are you some kind of net addict? Given that I also slept at the net cafe, I suppose you could say that I was. Yeah, honestly, in this day and age, a lot of people are. And honestly, having a slow connection is usually worse than having no connection. Because at least with no connection, you kind of like, yeah, I guess I can't use it, so I'm gonna do something else. But with slow connection, you're persistent trying to use it when it's taking forever to do something. So I don't know why I mentioned the slow connection here, but yeah. However, as I turned on my mobile PC, I was lost as to how I should respond. It wasn't against the law to say that I was trading stock as a miner. From that point of view, it wasn't a problem to just say so. The problem was that I was raking the cash by normal standards. Even for the 6 outer section, this appeared to be a lower income area. Did the inhabitants here earn about 1,000 moves a month? 2,000 moves? Or better yet, did anyone here hold down any steady work? It wasn't very clear if the church had any money. A good poker player never shows his hand, or so they say. So I should assume that they had some hidden away monetary reserves. I lowered my head like a turtle as I spoke. Something more important than even a name, perhaps? Lisa didn't even persist in asking my real name. Wait, asking her real name? So, she believes her name to be Hal? Uh, yeah, I guess you gave her fake name of Hal, and that's what you're going by here? I don't know. I really do not remember exactly how their first encounter went, even though it was not too long ago in the game. But it was, what, almost a month? Not that much, I guess. But close. At my words, Lisa's hands slowly stopped and she looked right at me. Looking at her calm but displeased face, I was ready to say that I was enraptured by the pursuit of money. Wow, you're almost like, oh yeah, I confess everything. Yeah, yep, everything. It isn't anything illegal, right? And the words that came out after that were those that I was sure would let me off the hook. That is definitely not the case. You have my word. In that case, I won't ask about it. That was unexpected. Lisa seemed to mouth those words a number of times. She smiled in slight puzzlement as she spoke. Boy is a creature who died without secrets. I want to get offended by that, but at the same time, I guess I technically have secrets. Like this channel, I haven't really told anyone I know personally, I guess. Well, I guess it's Nuzlocke challenge I showed some people, but nobody I know in real life. So yeah, I guess we all have our secrets. But is that specific to boys? Boys are creatures. In my heart, I screamed out against being treated like a child. But were my lips to move, I will sound just like one. I just stay silent as I logged to my trading account. Those thoughts had long since been expelled from my mind completely. My concern turned toward the up and down movement of digits and the flow of money it referred to. And there we go, the classic. The soundtrack kind of reminds me of Undertale. This one specifically. The market had fallen to disarray. One particular market on Earth was shaken up, and its repercussions were felt by the financial markets that tied the world together. Apparently, it was something about Russia sending forces into satellite countries because of natural gas fields. Typical stuff. With the conclusion of the Cold War, what brought the world together happened in an instant. After the panic of nuclear weapons, a small country in the Caucasus region, dubbed the Second Cuban Missile Crisis, mankind finally took a real look at the situation before them. Wait, are we taking a look at history here? Although the Cuban Missile Crisis was one of the actions that led to the end of the Cold War, it was also a confrontation between superpowers. Yep, between United States and the Soviet Union. In the second Cuban Missile Crisis, it was a confrontation between superpowers that brought the world together, but a confrontation between architecturists and the countries of the world. The result was a complete cooperation of the world and the desire to look towards the stars in preparation for another such moment. Everyone knew that there would always be disputes when it came to utilization of land on Earth. So let's make disputes of utilization of land on the moon. Yay! This issue would be pigeonholed into a faraway place above and away. Literally. With the development of the space elevator, major technological breakthroughs were made at breakneck speed during the development of lunar cities. However, just as eventually all memories fade over time, the moon strayed from their original goal as a world's utopia. After being firmly established, much like countries all over the world, it sought sovereignty and independence to the extent of maintaining its own independent military force. Though I guess it wouldn't have like land troops, since there's no other country on the moon. Or is there multiple countries on the moon? Thus, the countries on Earth turned their gaze from the sky to the ground again, having woken from their dream. This was the gist of what I understood about the history of the world. Okay, so we learned a bit about the history in this world, how things happened here after the Cold War and stuff. I knew more minute details beyond this, but delving too deep would make it difficult to see the big picture. My knowledge was entirely tied to stock trading after all. Fair point. If there were to be a disturbance in some region of some country on Earth, it would probably have a large impact on the people who live there and the corporations which operated there, but it would have little global impact. And because there would be a little global impact, tragedies would continue on Earth. This was something that immigrants from my town, who were coming from particularly dreadful places on Earth, had said, which had left the biggest impression in my mind. Oh, I see. Looking down there from the space elevator, I could see that all the dreadful problems out there grew smaller and smaller, much like the place of my birth. I'm not big of a fan of this like black screen, but yeah, I guess we're just narrating, so nothing really to show. Narrating the past and stuff. Even to this day, there were places on Earth where missiles fell more than rain did. Wow, did not expect that line. There was a rise in the number of unskilled laborers waiting to come to the moon, especially those who no longer want to live on Mother Earth anymore. The real kicker was that the peoples of the developed world seemed to know absolutely nothing about the world outside of their borders. Here, everyone more or less knew about this rising problem. When it came to this energetic bunch and their stubbornly resolute mindset, what was hidden eventually became known. Their mantra was, "We will not allow this to become another Earth." This was a great concept. I liked more of that. If nothing else, I like to continue to partake in free handouts like that. Okay, and we're back to the living room. Now, now with no one here. Strangely, even when I was completely focused on stock trading, the more I concentrated, the more another part of me started waking up. Felt like I had two personalities within. Really. When I sat after completing my trade, it really did feel like I logged out of the world of the net. It was the feeling of the two halves of me joining back into one. In the warp speed pace of stock trading, it was like the brakes were hit as gravity and time returned back to normal. I see it's just like you're hyper focused on that, so you don't really feel the world around you until you're finished. It wasn't all that bad, at least, until I reevaluated the results today straight. I've been glued to the screen since morning, without stopping to eat or drink, and I was up. I was up over 7,000 moles for the day. If there were smooth days, things would go the way they did today and continue at this pace. Being nerve-wracking calculating how things would go from last week. I could feel the fatigue in my body, and I fell over from my cross-legged sitting position lay down. Okay, so you made 7,000 moles today. That's pretty good. Only this moment was my mind blank. I was kind of expecting to see a picture of him lying down on the floor or something. But guess we're back to the black screen. Even in my dreams, I'd be handling financial transactions, though this moment was probably more relaxing than when I was sleeping. Even the most effective leaders on Earth holding on to their hegemony were said to spend anywhere from a few minutes to a maximum of an hour sleeping. Wow, really? Did not know that. I was very aware of this. If I were to plan my conquests of the world, it would be unfathomable to waste time sleeping. And I forgot that his dreams should be up front in the world. After all, someone somewhere in the world was working, continuing to affect some change. And sleeping meant slip a small fraction from the forefront. I remember one of my teachers saying, like, while you're sleeping, there's somebody out there studying and practicing. Even for the goal of conquering the stock market, I had to partition out the limits of my brain capacity. Thus, total control was still a far out concept. However, one day I would conquer the market, extract endless amount of money from it, and pile it all together to reach out and journey to undiscovered lands, opening the door to the next destination for mankind after the moon. It was like I stopped my brain cells from relaxing and filled my disconnected brain with a new, seething blood flow. He took a deep I took a deep breath and opened my eyes, ready to get up in one motion. What stopped my movement is track along with my thought process was purely an accident. When I opened my eyes, everything in front of me was all pitch black. No, or rather, it was a pitch black cloth. Hagana? One part of it had a unique and continuous contour to it, while another part appeared to be zigzagging layers of pleat. Beyond that, I could see through a break in the black fabric of what appears to be some sort of white fabric. It passed nimbly over my head. What came next into my vision was Hagana's face, as if she'd noticed something suddenly and turned around. Why did you open your eyes? Are you an idiot? Why did I open my eyes? Okay. And I have a feeling that I know what's being described here, but I'll wait to see. Those were words that didn't seem out of place, even if you appended with that. She wasn't acting shy or embarrassed, and apparently she wasn't even angry. Instead, Hagana looked disdainfully at me. It was probably a bad idea to have lain down to rest right along the shortest path to the kitchen from the living room. But even then, should Hagana be more careful wearing something as defenseless as a skirt? Yep, yep. So basically, he was lying on the floor, and then she just walked right over him to go to the kitchen right when he was opening his eyes. Yep. Besides, her lack of shade would make even mannequins look inhibited. Just thinking of that made any advantage to the situation a bit lacking. Without a doubt, finding any excitement in the contents of Hagana's skirt seemed rather like a losing proposition. So yeah, first I thought of Hagana when he was talking about black fabric, and then he mentioned some white. And earlier this episode, we saw some white. So that's how I put that together. I like to stay a rational person if possible. That was why I got up and returned to my computer screen. Yeah, I think I'm thinking here. Should I keep going or should I stop here? No, I think I'll continue a little. Hopefully, this thing doesn't take too long. I heard Hagana's voice come from her direction. She had a white she had a white mustache around her mouth after drinking milk. Ah, which certainly was quite a feat in nutritional intake and more amazing the chemical synthesis that created it. Like I know. After having her make a fool out of me, on top of having that idiotic white mustache on her face, I found myself rather irritated. At my rather short answer, Hagana showed her disapproval with a raised eyebrow. Haven't you been Haven't you been here the whole time? How come you don't know? Are you an idiot? I started feeling like every sentence she spoke would have those words tagged silently onto the end. It was true that I had been here the whole time, but I did not notice her getting up and leaving me behind during my deep concentration. I considered explaining that to her, but I found it to be so annoying that I just disregarded the thought. And that's how you two don't make any progress. And in doing so, I heard the darnest thing from Hagana. I was surprised. She turned around, and there was like the heartbeat and the red flash. I was surprised. In fact, you could say that it was as if my brain shorted out, and for a brief moment everything was blank. I turned around and just looked at Hagana with a what expression on my face. Hagana looked back at me without any expression on hers, seemingly saying that I was nothing but useless garbage. No matter how much of an effort I was making at being a gentleman, I realized I was reaching my limit with her. There was no way that this absolutely cheeky girl was going to behave. The circuits in my head shifted gears, switching on the adrenaline. My arms and legs seemed to have magically become supple. I swear, if she said even another word, I was going to tackle her to the ground. When it came to inflicting pain without leaving any marks on the face or body, I happened to know I know a thing or two about that. And boy, it was hard. Really going for the violence, really being aggressive here. I did not approve this. I learned a lot from Eastern European immigrants who came from unstable countries where the secret police were in full force. I tried some of those techniques on myself, and I experienced hell. The only thought in my mind was the delusion of seeing Hagana's cheeky face streaked with tears, begging for forgiveness. It would be good for Hagana to lift up the lid to the abyss of hell. That would teach her. No! Stop! Stop that, Yushihara. As I stared at Hagano with an icy glare, something happened that inhibited my rage. I'm back! Lisa returned through a door in the corridor that probably led to the church proper. In her hand was a burlap bag filled to the brim with all sorts of things. It was a city police. It was a city policy. There we go. I was like, it was a city police. What? It was a city policy to reuse anything that was reusable as much as possible. This led, this led me to believe that her burlap bag was certainly an example of that, given all the multiple patch marks on it. Hmm. As soon as she entered the living room, Lisa seemed to sense what was going on. Or rather, it would be obvious, even to an idiot, what with Hagana silently staring daggers at me. I paid Hagana no attention at all so, as I turned my attention back to the computer screen. Hagana. When Lisa called her name, Hagana turned to her like a dog to its owner. Yeah, I was thinking a similar situation. I wasn't thinking exactly a dog and its owner, but yeah, how Hagana's very attached to Lisa. You kill off brain cells if you stay angry like that. The heck was that? I looked up and, of all things, saw Hagana nod in agreement. Are you so easily convinced by something said to trick children? More like easily convinced by Lisa. As I looked on, dumbfounded, Hagana seemed to have given up on dealing with me and proceeded to rub her fingers along her forehead. And then she closed her eye, skillfully pouring milk into her cup, and had a second drink. Before she drank it, she went through this mantra. Calcium appeases anger. Exactly. Didn't seem like she was trying to pull a fast one. I was stumped as to whether this was all a ploy or not. The only thing I knew was that Hagana hated my guts. I was sure that bit about calcium was a snide remark at me. It wasn't so much that her anger had subsided as it was expressed in a different manner. Hagana finished her milk, then watched Lisa throw her grocery into the refrigerator. Lisa, auditorium key. Huh? Oh, did I give it to you? You didn't give it to me, and I also checked everywhere just in case. The only other possibility was that Lisa still had it, or he stole. Oh, right. Hold on a minute. With extra skill, and before Hagana even lifted a finger to point at me, Lisa went to action, searching her pockets and burlap bag. It was apparently hidden away in her wallet. This was this always happened when I make a habit of putting slim items in my wallet. Do you have enough time? Even if I'm late, I will have to precisely explain everything. The fact that it was Lisa's fault, not mine. She said it without even skipping a beat. It wasn't something one would be happy about, but as Lisa was unfazed by her word, it looked like this was fairly normal. That's true. Now, you better explain my screw up clearly then. Yes, a simple reason. Hagana said that as she took the key and turned away. The hem of her skirt turned lightly in sync with the graceful movement of her long, beautiful black hair. Like, Your heart can give some compliments, just he never say those out loud. He complimented Hagana's hair, Lisa's eyes, just her footsteps faded as she left the living room, and I could hear the door to her room close. Left there, Lisa sighed with relief, then let out a strained laugh as she looked at me. Soon after she closed her door, I heard it open and close again as Hagana returned to the living room. In her hand was a small black bag. I'll be on my way. All right, see you later. Hagana only talked to Lisa, and without a single word to me, she left through the hallway. Yep, because you two have really perfect friendship there. Or rather, her cold glance at me seemed to say, "Oh my, you're still here?" It would appear that Hagen had identified me unconditionally as her enemy. To be fair, I think you also identify her as an enemy. She really is a bit of a tough girl to deal with. It seemed that Lisa's mutterings weren't calling me out as being at fault, or rather were somewhat supportive of me. A bit? Those were the first words out of my mouth. Just a bit. She really is a good girl. Is that just a standard line to say for someone that has issues? Lisa put a hand on her cheek as she looked down with a somewhat cold expression in her eyes. I'm not someone cold-hearted like you, I would think. Okay, alrighty. You don't need to be so angry. Mm-hmm. That's better. Lisa smiled from ear to ear as she folded her empty bag carefully. Oh, what should I do? Do you want to have dinner early? You know what? Let's stop here without knowing what you should do. So, it seems like Hagana's lecturing or something like that. I don't know. Really curious what Hagana's been doing, but yes, someday we'll find out. But that day is not today. With that being said, see you next time. Bye bye.